I am thinking about this right now because I'm editing, and I don't work with temp scores, at least at first, because I like the film to find its own voice in the editing process. But I also am very curious right now what the score for this movie I'm working on is going to sound like, and I have no idea. and then Daniel came to set it. He's watched some dailies. He's about to see the first 45 minutes of the movie, and I can't wait to hear what he comes up with and what his instincts are for it. And I've got lots of ideas, but I find it best not to share many of them, because inevitably he's going to come up with something that is, even if it's not 100% right off the bat, is very instructive as to what the movie's going to become. And I view it as a very essential component. I have this love-hate relationship with score in movies, where I always try to use less. I want to use less, and Saint Nick has two pieces of score in the entire thing. It's very, it's much more reliant on sound design. But then Daniel writes music that's so good and illuminates so much about the movie that I just end up putting more and more into it. And then afterwards I'm I gotta pull it out, I'm using too much. And it's always a balancing act of finding the right amount, because he writes so much great stuff, and there's always more that he's written that's not in the films. And so I don't, with A Ghost Story, he had the song I Get Overwhelmed. He played that for me while we were working on the score for Pete's Dragon. And I was like, can I use this in this movie that I'm about to make, that you will find out more about very soon? And he said yes. And so I wrote that into the script. And, but that was the most premeditation we've ever had, where we knew that was going to be part of the movie. We shot scenes using that song, but usually we kind of wait for the movie to be in a rough cut stage before we really start talking about music. I'll say things like with Old Man the Gun, I was I think we need percussion, a lot of percussion. And with Ain't the Body Saints, I was listen to the end of the live version of this Joanna Newsom song, and I want the score to sound like that. And those initial ideas become, I can see where they develop, what they developed into, but the scores actually sound nothing like those initial conversations. So it's always an organic process, but it's a very essential one. And it's one of my favorite parts, is when he starts sending music and putting that into the movie and seeing how it changes the film is always such a thrill.